Hello, Sarah from SEK Handmade. I'm so happy to have you here talking with us today about yourself and your earrings for the fall. Plenty earring ebook and Crochet Along. Yay! Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited about this.
Yay! So let's just dive right in. Sarah, tell us about yourself.
Oh gosh, I am a crochet designer and teacher. When I was little, I always knew I wanted to be two things. I wanted to be a mom, which thankfully I'm blessed to have children. And I knew I wanted to be a teacher. Like lots of little kids play teacher, but I knew I wanted to be a teacher. So I got my degree in music education and I taught for 8 years. And when I started designing, I realized like, oh, I can design and I can teach.
Wonderful.
And I love it. That's what I do now. I teach virtually through my patterns and I teach in person with classes. And it's just the best. It's the best.
Perfect.
I work at home with my sidekick, my almost 3-year-old blind Australian Shepherd mix, who is a giant, well, he thinks he's a lap dog, but he's like 6 pounds. So sometimes there's a lot of like this kind of crocheting while he's like seated on top of me, which is fine.
That's so fun. Yay. Why don't you tell us how you got into crochet?
Oh, okay. So I learned to knit first, and I like to say that my mother forced me into knitting. She was like, "We're gonna learn how to knit," and I was like, "Yay!"
That's hilarious. I also had a session like that with my mom.
So I did not take to knitting right away. It was really hard for me and I almost gave up, but I didn't, and I'm glad I didn't. And once I got into knitting a little bit, I started getting on Ravelry and I would like search, I don't know what I would search, cowl or shawl or whatever. And I didn't know you could filter the results. So the knitting and the crocheting patterns would come up and I would be like, oh, I love it. And then I'd click on it and it would be crochet. And I'd be like, oh, I don't know how to do that. So shortly after my oldest son was born, we moved from Tucson, Arizona to Akron, Ohio. And so we just it picked up our whole lives and moved to this random place we had never lived before. We had no connections, no family, nothing. And so when my son was and I was staying at home with him. So we had a few little play groups and we made some friends like that, but mostly I did not have my own life because I knew no one other than people who also had little babies. So when my son was about 18 months old, I was like, I have to do something for myself that's like just for myself. And so I had found this knitting shop that was a little ways away, but it wasn't, like crazy far. And so God bless my husband. I said, I want you to work a whole day and then I want you to come home and I'm going to give you our cranky toddler who loves me more than you. I remember he went through a stage where Brian would literally be holding him as I was standing next to them making dinner, and Colden would be crying, Mommy, Mommy. And I'm like, you are being held by your father 2 inches away from me. Get over it, kid.
Yeah.
So this was likely to be a rough situation when I left. He was very attached to me. And I said, I got to go get out of here. And my husband was like, yes, do it. Go for it. So I went to the local yarn shop and I took a basic crochet class and I was hooked.
I love it.
So I dove in from there and for a long time I just made to make just for fun. But eventually that turned into, well, I think the journey most people take. Eventually I looked around and said, how many hats can one baby wear? Or how many hats can I wear? And so I got into selling. And then once I started selling, you know, I got this crazy notion in my head that like to really sell something, I should have made up the pattern myself, which at that point I didn't even realize was like designing things. I was like, I just need to make it up. Which is designing.
Yeah.
And so eventually we moved again, and the selling, like I was going to have to start all over again with the selling stuff, and I enjoyed it, but not as much as the designing. And so I decided I'm going to give this a go and see how it goes. And
awesome.
I just keep going.
There you go. So speaking of designing, what is your design style, or how would you describe your design style?
I would describe my design style as selfish.
Excellent.
There are lots of wonderful, generous people out there who love to make for other people. But I just love to make for myself. And I think there are a lot of people out there who do. So I focus on women's wearables, I guess I would say. I have a few things out there that are like kind of mommy and me patterns. I don't have a me though. I mean, I have a me, but they're both boys, so that I don't get like the cute little girl and the mommy picture. So I have a couple things for little kids, but not a lot because I mostly make things and model things for myself. And then each of my patterns is designed to teach something. So my goal with my patterns, I found in my own journey that I started off with some really basic things, and I got those basic things, and then I saw something pretty that was more intermediate, and it was like there was too big of a step. I was like, you know, trying to step up to that next thing, and I just kept trying and failing and trying and failing. And so my goal is to bridge that gap between you've got the basics down and you want to learn cool new things, but you also don't just want to figure it out on your own. So I'm here to help teach the skills you need to make the fun, fancy patterns you want to make for yourself. Awesome.
Yay. What inspires your designs besides yourself?
Color really inspires me. I love bright colors. I look adoringly on the people who have like all the beautiful neutrals. And sometimes I think I should do that. And then I see pretty colors and I think, no, I don't want to. And then just learning and growing. I mean, the crochet stitches and, you know, crochet's been around for forever. But personally, there's just so much you can do and learn. And so I love coming up with things that I haven't seen before and taking those new stitches or those new techniques or ways of constructing things and breaking it down for people so that they can come along and grow their skills too.
Fantastic. Love it. Okay, talk to us about your design for the Crochet Along.
Okay. Years ago, I came across the cross single crochet, and it was one of those things that was like a video in like, I don't know, Russian or Ukrainian or some language that I both did not speak the language and could not read the written text. And I was just like, oh, that's so cool. Like, it was just such a unique texture, the way that the stitches came together. And it seemed simple. And so I tried it and it wasn't right. And I walked away. And then I came back again and tried it again. And I finally got it. And it's just, it's fun to do. And really, it's a really, my favorite things are things that look complicated, but really aren't that complicated. And so it looks so incredibly different, but the trick to making the stitch is just little.
Yeah.
And so once I figured out those tricks, I just was in love. And so I have several stitches where the cross single crochet is a part of a greater textured fabric. And so I knew I wanted to break it down a little bit and have it be the star of a pattern. But it's unique in the fact that it has to be worked in the round. It is not the same front and back. So it was a little bit of with that. But I had recently designed for Knit Crate, and their inspiration for that design was like modern city. And so I had been like Googling inspiration of like skyscrapers and modern architecture. My dad's an architect, so you say like modern design and I go straight to architecture. And I found all these super cool buildings that had triangles in them in some way or another, and I was super inspired by that. And so my Knit Crate design was inspired with triangles. This design is inspired with triangles. I have another design that's inspired by triangles, and I tend to do that. I tend to like latch on to an inspiration and be like, oh, I could do this. Oh, I could do that. Oh, I could do this.
Yes, it's wonderful. All right, so you answered my next question, which is talking about your stitch. Awesome. And if people love this pattern, what other patterns will they love from you?
I have lots of earring patterns, and one of my favorite things to do, I'm trying to see, am I covering? Oh, I am. Look, my head was covering all this up. One of my favorite things about earring patterns is I love modifying them. So I love to take the pieces of an earring and like the Astana earrings have two pieces to them, the little triangle and the big triangle. And so I've taken each of those pieces and twisted them on their side, turned them upside down, added beads, added tassels. I don't know if you can see this one. I linked 3 little tiny ones of them together. I've got one with a whole lot of fringe. And so one of my favorite things is to take things and modify them, make them bigger, make them different, make them. And so I have several earring patterns that you can kind of do that with. Probably my favorite is my Aaliyah earring pattern. It has 3 pieces to it, and just like all sorts of fun ways that you can put those pieces together. But if you're looking for other patterns that have the cross single crochet, once you've learned it, I have my Fiona headband pattern has it, and my Francesca headband pattern. So those are a winter and a summer headband, depending on what season you're going into.
Yay! Awesome. Sarah, thank you so much for talking to us about the Astana earring and the Fall Plenty earring ebook and Crochet Along. And the designers, besides Sarah and I, are, I tried to go in order, Natalia Johnson of Natali's Crochet, Ruthie Smith of Teal Dragonfly Creations, Priscilla Allen of the Mother Lode Crafts, and Ashley Moran of Wish Upon a Hook. Oh, I did it. And you can grab the Fall Plenty ebook from any of our links and join the Bliss This crochet community for all of the tips and tricks and fun stuff that we're going to have in the Crochet Along. So see you there.